this computer. Okay. Yeah, ready when you are, Anita.
Okay, thank you so much, Emma. Hi, thank you for your time today. Yeah, we've been trying to get hold of a Scholarcy demo, and it's great to have one directly from you, Emma. Thank you so much.
That's no problem.
So I'm just gonna, yeah, thank you. I'm just gonna introduce you to the group, to our group here in Facebook, and this is actually for doctorate support group, yeah, and the total number of members are actually now 82,000, and all of us are very active in Facebook, doing a lot of research. And today we would love to hear from you. What is actually Scholarcy? Yeah, because we've been talking about it, we've been recommending it to some of our members, and you know, how do we actually use Scholarcy for literature review? So over to you, Emma.
Okay, yeah, and thanks very much for inviting me, Anita, and it's good to meet you all virtually. So I'm Emma, and I'm co-founder of Scholarcy, and Scholarcy is a technology that essentially converts any document type. So it could be a research paper in PDF, it could be an article online, it could be a Word document, so for example, a manuscript. It converts, so any type of document, it converts into a uniform structure, which we call a summary flashcard, which is downloaded and saved within your Scholarcy library. And in a nutshell, Scholarcy summarizes academic research. So that just a quick little bit of history is that our founder, Phil Gooch, who built the technology, went back to do a PhD a few years ago, and in his first year he was really overwhelmed by just the volume of reading. And what he found was that there were lots of discovery tools out there that would recommend other papers to him, but there was nothing really that would help him distill the content in front of him, and help him to sift through the masses of literature and really pinpoint and get to the literature that was going to be most useful for his research.
Yeah.
So a few years later, he built Scholarcy, and we have been going for just over a year now. And Scholarcy Libraries had a lot of new features added to it, which I'll talk to you over that period. And yeah, just looking forward to showing you how it all works today.
Okay, right. And that's what happened when we introduced Scholarcy. A lot of people are saying, how come we don't find this earlier? And then I told them, you know, it's good that we found it this year, at least, you know, for those who are doing it. And of course, I totally agree with you. It's the same case when I was doing my PhD. The amount of articles that you want to cover, it is so overwhelming, yeah. And sometimes that you found you actually spend a lot of times downloading, printing, and then suddenly you can't even use it. I mean, it's not even relevant. Yeah. So okay, go ahead.
So shall I go ahead with the demo?
Yes, please. Yes.
Great. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, are you able to see that there?
Yes, I'm able to see the library, yeah.
Okay, so this is, and this will be familiar to quite a few people who have signed up for a free trial to Scholarcy, but this is essentially the Scholarcy library homepage. So what you'll see is a list of summary cards, which we will talk about in a little bit more detail, and you can extend this. So if you want to see more summary cards in your library, you can extend that. And then a navigation down the left-hand side, which is made up of a number of different libraries, which we'll talk about. And then there's also settings and profile pages, which again we'll talk about in more detail.
Okay.
So the first thing I want to show is just the number of ways that you can import a document into Scholarcy. So if I just click on this little green upload button here, you'll see that there's various ways that I can import a document. So I can either drag or drop a document or upload it, browse and upload. But the other option open to me is to paste a URL or a DOI. Other options available to me here would be to upload a RIS file of references, and then I would generate multiple summary flashcards. And the last way, which you may or may not be aware of, is that we have a Chrome extension. And so if I open a paper in my browser and click on the Chrome extension here.
Yeah.
I
think this is the one that many people are using, I believe.
Okay.
The Chrome extension. Yeah.
So that's going to generate a summary flashcard here in my open browser. Just give me a couple of seconds and it'll appear. And then if I have a subscription to Scholarcy, what that's going to enable me to do is save that flashcard to my library. If I didn't have a subscription, that would just be a temporary flashcard that would disappear when I clicked off the page. Okay. So I'm just going to use the example of dragging and dropping a paper from my locally hosted files. And I've picked one about plastic in the world's oceans. So you can see that within a few seconds that uploaded the paper that I dragged in. So essentially any paper that you have on your desktop, locally hosted, or for example in Dropbox or Google Drive, you can upload into the Scholarcy library. So it doesn't have to just be an open access paper, it can be any paper that you have legitimate access to. Okay, because I believe that, you know, I do have some clients who are already towards the end of their PhD, and what they want to do is they want to check, and they already have a library full of papers. So this is a quick way to do that, right? Yes. To summarize the paper. Okay. Yeah. Right. And so you'll see here the little icon for Dropbox and for Google Drive, and you just click on one of those. This is a test library, so if I click on it, it's not going to take me to my Dropbox folder. But essentially, if you had a folder full of documents in Dropbox, you could import that entire folder. Might take a little bit longer for it to upload, but but it can work, Okay. But it would generate multiple summary cards for all of those papers. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Wow. I'm sold already. I mean, I've just been using it for like 4 or 5 days. I'm telling, oh no, you know, this is something that people want to try, you know, and we are actually spreading this to the whole database of university that we have in Malaysia. Yeah. And so we need to understand more. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the paper that I've dragged in, Plastic Pollution in the World's Oceans, I'm just going to click on the summary flashcard now just to give you an overview of the structure. And as I said before, the structure of these flashcards is uniform. So regardless of the type of document that you import, whether it's a manuscript, an open access paper, whatever it is, an online article, it will sort of generate this uniform summary flashcard format. Sometimes it won't. So if, for example, there's a results section, for argument's sake, missing in the paper, then obviously you're not going to see that results tab. But overall, you'll see this very similar structure for any document. So what we see is just a one-line summary of the paper here, and that's actually tweetable. So if for example you were an author and you'd uploaded a manuscript, we'll generate this one-line summary of your paper, and if you wanted to promote that, then you could simply click on the tweet and it would automatically tweet that headline out to your followers. Okay. Or even your own paper, right? So let's say you have your own paper and you want to share it in social media. Okay. Can I ask some questions here while you're doing it? Yes. Yeah. What about the export button up there? So does it mean that I can export this summary into my Word document? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it does. I'll come on to export in a little while,
Right.
but yes,
Okay.
export these flashcards to Word.
Okay. Right.
So as I said, you'll see this one-line sort of summary of the paper always at the top of the summary flashcard. And then we're going to come into this in a little bit more detail, but you will get a set of key concepts that have been extracted from the paper. So the most important key terms that appear in the paper. There'll be a summary of the abstract or potentially the full abstract. There'll be a set of key highlights.
Yeah.
So around 5 or 6 key highlights extracted from the paper. There'll be a longer summary, which is structured by introduction, methods, and results. And then there's a range of other tabs that we'll come onto in more depth. So we extract tables, figures. We also extract the main text if that's of use to people. And we surface and link to all of the cited sources within a paper.
Okay.
So actually a good quick thing to show you here is that you can expand or contract all of the tabs within a flashcard just by clicking on this little icon here.
That will be very useful. Okay.
So just before we go into more depth in the flashcard, I just want to briefly show you settings. So there's quite a lot of options here in settings, but there's probably 4 or 5 that are going to be the most significant probably to your community, Anita.
Okay.
So the first one is that you can adjust the length of the summary that you generate. So currently it's set to 400 words here, but if you want to expand that or decrease that, say, to 200 for a shorter summary, you can do that here.
Right. Okay.
The other way of doing
the default is 400, yeah?
Default's
is 400.
Okay. The other option open to you is you can select a percentage of the paper. So if you want sort of a 20% summary of the paper, then you can modify that here.
Okay.
The other thing that you can do here is turn on and off the structured summary. So I showed you that very briefly before, but if the structured summary isn't particularly useful to you, then you can turn that off in settings.
So all those buttons are clickable, yeah? We can change that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the thing to sort of point out here is if I turn that structured summary off, I would then need to reload the paper. So I'd need to save my settings and re-import the paper for those settings to apply. Okay. Another aspect worth mentioning is highlights. So we'll come on to highlights and what they mean. But if the highlights you find distracting for whatever reason, you can simply turn those off. Okay. And you can modify the number of key points you see. So if you want to reduce or increase that, then you can do that.
Okay. And I bet down below there, we shouldn't meddle with that. I mean, it looks like technical to me.
Yeah, it's a good question. And we're working on a bit of an overhaul or a redesign of our interface so that the settings page will change slightly. So I would recommend at the moment just to leave these.
Yeah, just leave it. Yeah, okay.
Because the default settings are the ones that will probably work best on most papers.
Okay, all right. So after each changes, just click save. Yeah.
Yes.
Down below.
Yeah. Okay. And then re-import the paper.
Right. Okay.
One last thing to mention is that you can turn figure and table extraction off, and that will make the importing of papers a lot faster. So if figures and tables aren't important to you to be extracted, then if you turn that off, it'll just make the import faster.
Faster, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go back into my plastic pollution flashcard. We've talked about this key headline. And then I'm just going to click into probably the first aspect that I'd look at within the flashcard after the headline are the key concepts. And if I was new to a subject and I wasn't familiar with some of these terms, I could click on any one of these terms and it will take me to a corresponding definition in Wikipedia.
Right.
Are you able to see my screen still, Anita?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
I am able
great.
to see. And I believe that this kind of feature will be very useful for novice researchers who would like to know more about the area, you know?
Yeah.
And that it will be very useful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick checking and quick reading. Okay.
So then the next place I would probably head to would be the Scholarcy highlights. So I've been given this kind of one headline summary of the paper. I've got a view of the sort of the most important key terms within the paper, and then I can head to Scholarcy highlights, to get a sort of a 5 or 6 point very brief summary of the overall paper. Worth mentioning here that our technology is, so we use extractive summarization, not abstractive. So we're not rewriting any of the text from the paper, but it's pulled directly from the paper. So you would be able to trace these sentences directly back to text within the paper. And again, what you can see in here is that some of the key terms are hyperlinked here. So if the key terms appear in the highlights, again, that would take me directly to a definition in Wikipedia. What you'll also find is that these highlights are referenced. So if I just hover over this reference 28, I'm just going to show you this now actually, and I click on the purple R. So what that's done is it's gone and found that referenced paper and it's generated a very brief summary of a few highlights of the main findings of that referenced paper. So rather than you having to leave Scholarcy Library and go and look at and skim read that paper, for example, it's just pulled in the main highlights of that paper as a reference.
Yeah, that's quick. Yeah.
It's pretty quick, yeah. And if you wanted to link to that paper from here, you can just click on the open access button, but we'll go into more depth in that.
Yep. Okay.
So then, as I said, there is a longer structured summary, which would probably be the next point. And all of this is just a way of getting a researcher that's new to a paper, a quick way of assessing and evaluating how useful that paper is going to be to their own research without having to, skim read a pile of papers. So here we give you a longer structured summary, and as I mentioned, this will only pick up, this will be based on the structure of the paper that you've imported. But here it's given us a summary of the introduction, the methods, results, and conclusion.
Okay.
I'm just, yes, sorry, main text. I lost it there.
Yeah.
So what we also do, and this is quite a recent addition to Scholarcy Library, is pull in the full text of the paper as well.
Okay.
So what we don't do is in Scholarcy is store an original of the paper. So you can see the main text here if you click in this tab, and you can also click on the link to the paper at the top of the summary flashcard, and that'll take you to the original paper.
Yeah.
But we don't store papers within the Scholarcy Library.
Okay.
And then lastly, I've talked a bit about tables and figures. So you can see here there's quite a lot of tables within this paper. And I'm going to show you this in a little bit more detail later, but what I can do is click on this download to Excel. and then it'll automatically extract that data into Excel, and then I can look at it in more depth and manipulate the data if I need to.
Okay.
And then you can see that there's a few figures in this paper, so it's extracted those. And if I click on one of those, I can see that in more detail.
Yeah, okay. But I believe among the very important thing that they want to do is to see the highlights and the summary. You know, that's the first thing that Scholarcy users, you know, want to see. And when they want to go into details, then they come to that part, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, the key concepts, the highlights and the structured summary would be the best place to start. So on what I just want to pick up on briefly as well is this highlights key. So in addition to extracting the key findings from a paper, what Scholarcy also does is it will highlight key contributions made by the author, which you'll be able to see in pink. It'll highlight any significant points that are raised by the paper. So in a similar way that we extract these Scholarcy highlights here, we also have a tool which is called a robo highlighter, which will pull out both contributions and key claims made by the authors.
Okay.
And the green corresponds to statistics. So if I just come down here, you'll see that study subjects and analysis is highlighted in green.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the overall structure of the summary flashcard. And I just want to now move on to the ways that you can organise your research within Scholarcy Library. So what I can easily do here, you'll see down my left-hand navigation, I've got a series of libraries here. To create a new library, I just simply click on that little plus sign here, and it'll generate this new library here, which I can just name as I like.
Rename.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to call that test library 2. And there we are. So if you want to create, for example, subject categories within your library, then you can create as many of those sort of subject libraries just simply by clicking on Add Library.
Okay.
So then within a library, I can also create any number of folders. So if I come into neurobiology here, I've created a couple of folders, one on Alzheimer's and one on epilepsy. And again, this is just so that I can structure my work more precisely and find summary flashcards more easily. So again,
I think this is going to be, sorry Emma, this is going to be very useful for now because a lot of the researchers are interdisciplinary. So they do a lot of readings from different areas. Yeah, okay. Yep.
So I'm just going to show you, I just click on that little green folder and that'll let me add a new folder to my neurobiology library. So just give that test folder. And there's my new folder.
Okay.
Everything that you import into Scholarcy will automatically come into my library, and then you can move these flashcards around as you choose. But the sort of the main library is where all of the new summaries will appear. What I can do within any of the libraries is drag and drop flashcards. So if I wanted to bring, oh, sorry. Let me just do that again. If I wanted to drag this to the top.
Right. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Okay. So we can move around, yeah? The papers. Okay.
Yep. And the other thing that I can do, if I want to move this paper into my neurobiology folder, then I just click on I just check this box here. Next to move, I would have a drop down and I would click on neurobiology, and then I click on move and the paper has been taken into my neurobiology folder.
Okay.
So yeah, you can within a folder you can drag and drop to move flashcards around. If you want to move flashcards from one folder to another, you just check this box here and go to move.
Yeah.
And if you want to search across folders, we've got a global search function here. So I'm just going to click back into my library. I'm going to type in the term sleep. Helpfully that brought up nothing. It should have brought, perhaps I've deleted the paper. Let me try another one. So I'll just try plastic. Okay, and then that has brought in any papers that mention the word plastic.
Okay. I think the search feature is also useful because a lot of the times, yeah, we've done the search and then suddenly we forgot where it is, right? I mean, we are not able to remember all the papers that we have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to come on to references now because there's quite a bit that you can do with references in Scholarcy. So I'm going to go back into my plastic pollution paper. And as I mentioned, within the highlight, so sorry, I'll take a step back. So what Scholarcy does behind the scenes when it's importing a paper is it will surface all of the references within that paper. So it will extract those into a bibliography within the flashcard. But the other thing, and probably the more important thing that it does, is link directly to those cited papers. So I'm back in my plastic pollution flashcard and I'm coming to the references section here. So what that's done is pull out every reference within the plastic pollution paper. You'll see as well that it also pulls out key terms within those references. So again, I can click on those and it'll take me to definitions. And under each of these references, you'll see a few buttons here. So there are links to the open access version of the paper. So I'm just going to click on this link here in reference number 9. And that's taken me to that full open access version of the paper. Are you able to see that?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Yeah. So what's worth mentioning here is that Scholarcy will only take you to the full version of open access papers. So if the reference links to a paper that's behind a paywall, it'll just take you to the article homepage of that paper. If you happen to have a subscription to that journal, then obviously you'll be able to access the full text. But if it isn't an open access paper that's been referenced, you will only see probably the abstract of the paper.
Yeah. Okay.
So I suppose just to clarify, you can upload any kind of paper into Scholarcy, but Scholarcy will only link to the full text of open access papers.
Okay. Emma, can you show me, there are 4 buttons down there. So we've got Google Scholar, we've got open access. What are the S thing and the purple one you just showed just now?
Yes.
So what are the buttons down there?
Yeah, so the purple one is the Scholarcy summary of that paper. So again, that's gone behind the scenes to find that paper and summarize it in the background. And you've got the key highlights from this reference here. And this this button is a link to Cite AI. And I don't know if are you familiar with Cite AI, Anita?
I've tried. Yeah, I've tried before. I've used it before, but maybe you can explain to the community.
Yeah, so Cite AI is really does sentiment analysis on papers. So, you know, most discovery services or a lot of discovery services, you'll see the citation count for a paper, and what Cite AI does is sentiment analysis on those citations. So it will show the number of times that authors have confirmed or refuted that paper. So here you can see that it's been cited, the paper's been cited 70 times, it's been refuted 1 time, and it's been supported 5 times. So we just call the Cite AI API to pull in that additional information.
Right. And the first button there, first we have Google Scholar, I believe. Down below there, where you've got something like a flag, the red and yellow. What is that? Yeah.
Yeah, that takes you to Crossref.
Crossref. Right. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay.
So the other thing that's quite useful is that I can export my entire bibliography either to a RSS file. So if I just click on this, there's 2 download buttons here, and if I click on this one, which is download to RSS, it'll generate a RSS file here. I'm hoping you can still see this. Are you able to see that? Yeah.
I am, yes.
So what I can do with that is just, you know, save it locally and then upload it, for example, to my reference management software, such as EndNote. And that will import all of those references into my reference manager.
Right. Okay.
We also integrate with
quick way.
Yeah, we also integrate with Zotero. So this download to BibTech, if you've got a Zotero account, then it will just it'll just import all of those references directly into Zotero.
Okay.
So just a little bit more on figures and tables. So I'm just going to click on expand the tables section. As I said, there's quite a few in this paper, and I'm going to click on this download tables as Excel. And again, I'm hoping you'll be able to see this.
Yes, you're opening the Excel, right?
That's it. Yeah. And can you see those tabs?
Yes.
So what that's done is pull all of that tabular data into an Excel spreadsheet.
Right. Okay.
So if I'm particularly interested in the data within the paper, then I can analyze that in more depth and save it and edit it. And again, with figures, this is quite a useful feature if you're using a mobile device. So often, you know, if you're trying to skim read a paper on a mobile device, it's really hard to see the figures in any detail. But if you're using a phone or a tablet, then you can just click on these extracted figures and you can see them in much more detail.
Okay.
As I say, if that's not really important to you and you turn figures and table extraction off, then the paper will process more quickly.
Load faster, faster. Okay.
Yeah. So then just to come back to your question earlier, Anita, which was about exporting. So I can export these summary flashcards to Word. So I just click on, well, I could export it to RSS, but I just click on this doc here and then click on the export button.
Okay.
And it will, so it
okay, nice.
It appears as a Word document. So again, if I wanted to save that, if I wanted to edit it, I could do that within a Word file.
Okay. because I think this is what they want to do. Many of them are doing literature metrics, where they need to look at, compare, many papers together. So they want to export to doc and then read it again, and then, compare and contrast, papers. So that feature is going to be very useful, the export feature. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
The other thing that I just wanted to talk about was the ability to edit some of the content within the flashcard. So if I want to edit any of the metadata of the record, so if, for example, it's unlikely, but if, for example, I noticed an error in the name of the author or in the name of the title, I could edit that here. If I noticed the year was incorrect, for example, I could change that. And another feature that's probably quite useful is that you can add your own notes to a flashcard.
Oh, wow.
So
this would be, yeah.
And then I just click add note, and that will attach that note to the flashcard. And again, if I exported that flashcard to a Word document, it would also export my notes along with it. Right.
I would want to do that, because sometimes when I read, I have my thinking, and I want to say something. Yeah, just to remind you later what to do with the paper. So that's also very useful. Okay.
And then the last thing I just wanted to show you was that we have a new feature now, which is that you can set up RSS feeds. So you can set up a folder to import papers or articles. It could be a news site such as The Guardian. It could be a preprint site such as medRxiv. But essentially, you can create a folder and then link it to an RSS feed. And then what that will do, I'm just going to click on this folder, medRxiv infectious diseases, is in the background, it's just going to keep searching and pulling in any papers on infectious diseases within medRxiv.
Okay. And then it will be there automatically? It will be there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So it pulls in up to over 100 papers. There are limits. So at some point it'll hit a limit, and you would need to go through and delete papers that weren't of interest to you. But it just means that if you're interested in in the background pulling in papers for a specific subject area or topic, then you can set up an RSS feed. And I'll just show you how you do that.
Yes, please. I think that would be useful for us.
So I just create a new folder, and I'm just going to call it my RSS feed. And then
obviously,
so I just click on that RSS link there, and then click the subscribe button. And then all I need to do is paste in the RSS feed link from whichever site I'm looking at, and click on subscribe.
Okay. That's useful whenever you want to keep track of the latest paper, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, okay.
Other thing just to mention very quickly is that it's really easy just to delete flashcards or folders or libraries just by clicking on the trash can.
Sorry, Emma, I just have one question on top of my head. Are there limits on how many papers that we can do inside Scholarcy?
No, it's unlimited.
Right, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So that's the overview. Did you want to ask me any questions?
Yes, please, because there are some users who have been using Scholarcy at the moment, and among them is they were asking about, let's say they buy 1 month, of Scholarcy, and then they stop subscribing, and then they want to come again the 3rd month, for example, and subscribe maybe 3 months more. will they have the same flashcard stored in their account using the
Yes.
same email? They are, yeah?
They
Okay.
will. So if they cancel their subscription and then return to it in a few months' time, they will be able to access those summaries that they'd saved originally.
Okay, because that's going to be useful. Most of them I notice are using the earlier bit where they do their literature review, and then the last bit where they need to check, you know, the papers that they have quoted. So I believe that many people are thinking of, you know, how can I use Scholarcy, yeah, the best way. Another thing is they also ask, so what's the difference really between the free trial flashcard and the premium one that they buy, you know, the subscription model, I mean version. So what's really the difference? They can't save, right?
Yeah, the main difference is that they can't save their summaries to return to at a later date.
Okay.
Also, the free version that's available via the website is rate limited, so you can only upload a handful of documents a day.
Okay.
Whereas with Scholarcy Library, you can upload unlimited documents.
Okay.
So it's really the volume and the permanence of the summaries.
Right. Okay. So far we've got a lot of interest in the SG, specifically because of the overwhelming feeling that you have when you try to process the articles. Wow. Thank you, Emma. So I think I've understood a lot more than I've tried. You know, I've tried using it, but after your presentation just now, I've understood it well, you know, way better. So is there anything else you want to share with us, Emma?
No, I think so. We talked about open access journals. I think you had raised a question about could only open access journals be processed, and the answer is no. If you have legitimate access to any paper, it can be processed.
Okay.
And the other thing just to mention is that, you know, we do offer multi-user and institution-wide licenses to Scholarcy Library.
Okay.
So we do have pricing available for multi-user licenses.
Okay, I'll get in touch with you on that because there are some requests for research teams, for example, 10 of them or 20 of them, yeah? And I'll get back to you once we have that request, okay?
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good.
Okay, so I believe that was a very quick and useful, very informative demo that you did. Thank you so much for your time, Emma.
That's no problem. It's good to talk to you. And any questions at all, just ask me. We've got an FAQ page on the website, which I'll send you a link to, and some quick demo videos as well.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll keep in touch, yeah?
Okay. Thanks very much,
Bye.
Anita. Bye.
Bye. Okay, are we off?